Next up, we have a superstar speed panel here featuring our lovely sponsors, Adinmo, plus another major game studio. We've gone from the sweltering Shanghai into probably the slightly cooler Helsinki for Rovio, as well as ad specialist publicist in a kind of speed panel. But you know, you can have your time. Kristen, how are you doing?
Good to see you, Chris. You always have the best Zoom shirts. I'm always impressed.
I mean, I'm gone polka dot man. It's in honor of Suicide Squad coming out. So no, it's quite muted for me at the moment, to be honest. Like my emotions after last night. I'm slightly flatter than usual today, I must admit. It's been a struggle, but yeah. But you're looking very nice. You're all white there. You've kind of got the whole white shirt, white background, very clean. That's very good. And you have you've got your panel joining you here. There's Jarko there, very angry bird.
Yes. Hi there. Hi, Chris.
Hey, and Marcin.
Hey, nice to see you.
Good to see you there. You're not Olga, I can tell. I'm good at this.
Yeah, I'm not Olga.
I've done this before. Anyway, I'm gonna let you chat. I think I don't need to. You don't need my insight. I don't know anything. So I'm gonna be here in the background, but I'm gonna let you guys have your chat about. And then come back in with any questions from the audience at the end, if that's okay. You all good?
That's great. Thank you.
See you in a bit. Off you go.
Talk to you later, Chris. And Jarko and Marcin, thank you very much for joining us. As an American, I'm not going to mention the football too much. As a born and bred Texan, I kind of feel it's not really football unless the Dallas Cowboys are playing anyways. But I thought it was interesting with, both with Tencent just before us and their talk about the quality of game experience and how important that is. And then looking at the ads. I don't know if you guys noticed that we saw a lot of ads in the football games throughout the last month and certainly last night, including ads from Alipay and from AntChain that were obviously targeted towards Asia and specifically Chinese users. And I thought that was really interesting because one of the reasons that I founded Adinmo 3 years ago was this idea of creating a better advertising experience for all stakeholders. So what we do at Adinmo is we're dedicated in-game advertising platform. So we place non-interruptive brand ads programmatically into the game experience. So we're really happy to be here today with Pocket Gamer and supporting the growth track. One of the things that we think from a growth perspective is I fundamentally believe that the transactional model for content and the race to zero means that model is kind of going away, and in-game advertising, and especially free-to-play in-game advertising, is going to be the leading monetization method for mobile gaming. But as I said, it has to work for all stakeholders, developers and publishers, of course, advertisers who are paying for this, and most importantly, the gamers, the gaming audience. So again, really delighted to be joined today by Marcin from Publicis Game Lab and Jarko from Rovio, obviously two giants in the industry with tons of experience. And just want to look at the state of play in in-game advertising and why we think it's time to rethink in-game advertising. So for kind of intros, maybe Marcin and Game Lab, representing Publicis and Game Lab, can you tell us what's a global advertising agency doing at a mobile games event?
Well, thank you for that question, Christian. I would be really surprised at it if we didn't, join such events like this, because now we are at the point that gaming cannot be ignored anymore by, the large companies, because the gaming industry is growing with its audience, obviously. That's pretty common knowledge, but not for all, surprisingly. When I'm speaking with, for example, FMCG brands managers, there are still talks like, oh, yes, we are here to speak about some gaming marketing, but nor I nor my kids playing games, and that's good. And I think, oh, really? Because I'm a gamer at heart. That's why I'm in Game Up, and so that's always funny to hear something like that. I'm sorry. Still, you can't ignore gaming today because it's too huge. I'm from Poland, and in Poland we have a data that there is possibly around 70 to 20 million players in our population with this 38 million people. So it's a huge number. You can't ignore that many consumers if you want to be in their heart, in their minds, and if you want to sell something actually.
That's great, Marcin. Thank you. And I think you mentioned you're a gamer at heart. Am I right in my memory that you, in a previous life, were a games journalist, in fact?
Yeah, I was. And when I think about in-game advertising, it came to my mind that we had some trying in a, let's say, first Barack Obama presidential campaign. I still remember the ads in Burnout. And then it was so like, okay, nobody is speaking about it for many, many years. And I remember very similar situation, like 18 years ago. It was 18 years ago. I don't know if anybody remember the thing called OnLive. It was about cloud gaming. And yeah, now we have Google Stadia, and we have GeForce Now, our working services. Maybe we needed the technology to grow. Maybe we need more internet connection to measure this advertising, but I feel it's right time to do it.
I think we're going to touch on measurement in just a little bit, in fact. So, Jarkko, I think Rovio, of course, needs no introduction to this audience and have a long history of brand activations. But can you tell us a little bit more about your role specifically, and both your goals and Rovio's goals in this space?
Sure, and thanks for having us here. And I'm Jarkko Rämkän, and while I'm leading our kind of ad monetization efforts here at Rovio, I really want to emphasize that it's really a kind of cross-functional effort for us. So we work very closely with our core game teams, BI team, marketing team, user research team, technology, UA, just to name a few, to make sure that we look everything from kind of multiple different angles, and always remember that we can only make money also with ads if the players have fun playing the game. And of course, as you said, we have come a long way away from as an industry, and also we at the Rovio from kind of early on having banner ads in kind of free versions of the game to today, where we do a lot of different types of stuff with ads as well, and experiment a lot of stuff, and I have a long history of kind of different types of brand integrations and brand activations in the game as well.
Thanks. It's interesting you mentioned. I think this is something that we fundamentally believe in here at Adimo, is ensuring that the gamers are having fun. You know, we did a recent consumer survey with PocketGamer.biz. And in that, as the industry has evolved quite a bit now, of course, from the first in-game advertising, but now about 3/4 of players in this survey responded that they think banner ads have a negative impact on playing a game. But about 70%, a little over 2/3, thought that immersive ads offered a much smoother experience. So as I mentioned, I mean, that's why we as Adimo exist. You know, we think that these non-interruptive formats are better for everybody. They give developers more control over where to place these brand experiences. Give advertisers the opportunity to create these positive brand experiences within the gaming environment. And of course, most importantly, from our perspective, we don't piss off those gamers. They are the reason that we're all here. So there's a lot of trials happening. There's a lot of tests happening within the in-game advertising space with developers and advertisers, looking at how to make in-game advertising a larger part of both their development strategy and in the media mix. So I guess to ask each of you this question, why is in-game advertising particularly exciting to you? And maybe Jarkko, if I could hand over to you first.
Well, I think that the more and more developers have started to kind of look the kind of overall monetization in free-to-play games more holistically over time, and understanding that hey, what it means in mobile free-to-play gaming, that you have kind of many different player segments in your game that might be enjoying the game in different ways. And realizing really that some of the non-paying users can actually be extremely engaged with the game as well, and keep playing for an extended period of time. So of course, if you monetize your game and audience with advertising, it's more and more worth the effort also to design the ads in the game use formats that the players don't feel that the ads are there just to annoy players, possibly enough to become paying users, or then risk them kind of quitting playing. So I really think there is still a lot of room for innovation in the gaming industry to find new ways of kind of building ads organically into the game experience, and not just in a way that ads would be a vehicle or external vehicle in the game to churn out coins or in any other in-game currency, and through kind of more engaging integrations to kind of make the game even more fun for the players, and through that also much more attractive to the advertisers.
And perfect, hand over to you then, Marcin, from the advertiser perspective. Why do you think in-game advertising is exciting?
Yeah, it's exciting from a few perspectives, because first of all, it's really kind of innovative way, and we need to understand that for many brands, gaming as a whole is still very innovative way to communicate with consumers. For example, for FMCG brands, the talk I just mentioned, yeah, it's a reality. It's still like, let's say, a terra incognita to the marketers, for marketers and brand managers from some branches. That's one thing. The second thing, you mentioned that you don't want to be the players, and that's really a good thing, because we all know that players can be very vocal about what hurt him. A few days ago, I heard about another in-game advertising technology. It was a huge thing, but it was based on TV formats and simply interrupt the gameplay, or you need to watch it before the gameplay in exchange of additional content. And while many marketers, media react like, oh, that's nice, that's another way to target gamers, it's great. When I switched to gamers portals and start reading comments, players was all triggered and, are you insane? We don't want such ads in games. So yeah, it's really important to don't disrupt the gameplay, to don't ruin the immerse from gameplay. From brand's perspective, it really needs we really need to educate people about what's important for gaming community, for gamers as itself. The thing like Kpis game apps are for those tasks, I would say, because we really need to educate people who don't came from gaming industry, who don't play games, how you can move in this entire culture of gamers, I would say. It's very sensitive. You need to have a good compass to navigate through this world, and you simply can't put an ad and leave it as it is and say, okay, that would work. No, it wouldn't. You need additional context. You need to fit it into the game world. You need to do all those things to make it simply work.
I think it's a great point, Marcin. We're really at the start of this journey. This is a new, in-game advertising is a new ad format. It's not the same ad formats that we're used to in the past, whether it's banner ads or video ads, interruptive, interstitial video ads. And it's definitely, in order for this to become a long-term business for everybody, for game publishers and developers, for the advertisers, and for the platforms such as ourselves, there's some learnings that we're going to have to do here. There's some things that we're going to have to put in place to ensure that this does work for all the stakeholders. And most importantly, so that we can make this a scalable business. I think one of the things that comes up a lot, and we sit on both sides of this at Adimo, we speak to game publishers and developers, and we speak to advertisers. And I think one of the things that advertisers in particular speak about, but also the publishers, is brand safety. What is the meaning of brand safety? How do we ensure that there is a suitable brand experience? And I think the brand safety probably comes. There's a couple different kind of ways that we can think about brand safety. As I said, is that the right brand for the audience there? But as well, was it a good quality ad? Was it something that the audience was going to notice? So I guess, Marcin, maybe to start with you, Could you give us a little bit of insights from both your mindset and from your clients' mindsets, from your advertising buyers? When they think about games, how do they think about their brands and protecting their brands within those games?
Yeah, that's a really important topic. To be honest, it's one of the most important topic. Because when we go to the let's say really big corporation and start talking about communicating with gamers, we came with let's say list of 5 most popular games in each country, and it's usually games like Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Fortnite, League of Legends, and so on and so on. But not every game is good for them because they have their internal regulations. For example, brand safety means that they can anyhow, be connected with violence. And if we have a game, let's say some FPP shooter that is some kind of realistic. This Go is a great example because for many companies it's too realistic because it's not portrayed in cartoonish way somehow. We can't go with we can do anything with such game because there's brand regulations and they said no, violence is not for us. So automatically we have a whole range of games that are out of business because of such regulations. The way to go around is to portray let's say FPP in some more cartoonish way. For example, for many companies, Fortnite will be a good solution because we still have people with guns, but it's really portrayed in cartoonish way, and then it's not a problem. The other thing we need to remember is all of these regulations that brand books and other elements that our logo must be only on defined colors of background, etc. We need to remember all of these things when implement the ads into the game. So it's harder to do, but it's always possible.
And Jarkko, as we touched on earlier, Rovio have, a long history of brand activations and thinking about brand suitability and brand safety. And I presume that's part of why we don't have a Victoria's Secret sponsored Angry Birds, for example. So can you give us a little bit more thoughts about how you guys think about brand suitability and brand safety?
Well, there's kind of two different aspects on that. And first, of course, is the kind of contextual relevance in that specific game and that specific environment. That it really, to start with, needs to feel organic from the player perspective. That for example, if you have a game where you're flying in space and then you see a kind of a latest model of your favorite car manufacturer floating by in space, it might feel a little bit off by the player that, hey, if there's not a very good story that, hey, why this specific kind of a brand or the specific product is there in the specific context. But in addition to that, of course, there needs to be a kind of mutual fit between the content and the audience and the brand in question. And that's something that it's very, there's no one set of rules for that, but it's always kind of mutual understanding between the advertiser and the goals behind the brand there, and with the publisher as well in terms of what they're looking for and on what they value in terms of and think that what is relevant and meaningful for their audience.
That's a great point, Jarkko. When we think about it as with an Adamo trying to respect that game experience. As I said, we're all here for that player and ensuring that their game experience and the way that the ads and the brands fit in that game experience should be the end goal for all of us. And as this is a new medium, we're still learning, and our game publishers and developer partners are kind of learning on this as well. We have we have an in-house dedicated game design team that works with game developers to figure out not only where to place these ad placements for, to ensure that you've got viewability and monetization through impressions, but also just to make sure it kind of fits into the experience. And I think a large part of this that we maybe haven't fully realized yet, and Jarkko, would love your reactions on this to start with, is I think right now a lot of in-game advertising, this happened with interstitial ads as well, a lot of the in-game advertising is kind of an afterthought, right? We'll place it, we've got a sports game, we've got some places here, racing game, we've got some billboards, why don't we place some ads in those? As opposed to making that in-game advertising experience there from the start, there at the actual game design phase. So again, I know that Rovio have done a lot of thinking on this. So what are your recommendations, Jarkko, for thinking about at the earliest phases of game design, marrying advertising and the game experience?
Well, I think that's very, very, very important, and in a way you shouldn't be taking the kind of, even in any kind of free-to-play game, you shouldn't be taking the monetization design out of the game design as well. That it's very, very hard to design a very successful game in a way that, hey, we build the game first, and when the game is ready, let's start to figure out how we actually make money with the game. And what are those value propositions for the player that first of all the player would be willing to pay for, and also what other value proposition there would be, for example, with the advertising integration. So those all those three things should go hand in hand pretty much from almost like from the prototype of the game all the way to the production and for the global launch, in a way that you think through those all elements of, hey, how the player is playing the game and how the player can enjoy the game, and which parts in a game would be, for example, very, very organic parts for very, very integrated advertising spots, in a way that it fits the play and the player flow well, and it's not disruptive to the player in a way that it kind of drive retention down and things like that.
I think in other types of content, you can look at good, and you can look at examples of good and bad integrations. And I used to work in the movie business, and we've all seen lots of really bad product placements in movies. I think sports is sometimes a great example of a very natural fit for how brands work with the type of content. So within the games experience, and coming from the gaming side, we're all very protective of that game experience. But Marcin, you as a representative of the advertisers, how do you think about the game experience and where your brand fits into that, or where your brands fit into that?
So obviously, as you mentioned, it's really easy to imagine that in sports game we simply add the real brands to the brands, and it's even better for the experience because it makes the virtual world more real. The same with the racing games. But as we seen on this market, there is a way to place advertise even in the really fantastic worlds. For example, Riot makes recently makes some good, let's say, try to do that in their esport tournaments. They simply place banners with, I believe, MasterCard logo on the recent tournaments, and this don't ruin the experience because it was placed on very natural context. The banners was already in the game. They simply put logo in a way that there is no harm. But of course, from my perspective, it's a huge challenge to have a game like, for example, Angry Birds, and make really make FMCG product to put it and feel it natural. Probably you have some solutions, but you need to think about it. You need to work around some solutions to make it feel natural and to make it don't interrupt the game experience. And that's really important from my perspective, because you can always, as I said before, you can always go place an ad somewhere in the game and finish your business, but that probably that even could make a communication crisis, because if players won't be happy, they are really vocal, as I said before, and you know, all the big titles premiere, and all the mess in media we have with, for example, Cyberpunk and other titles. That's all what gamers do if they don't happy. So you need to be really extra careful when do something with this within this world.
Thank you. So we talked about safety from the brand experience and from the game experience. We should probably also, I guess, the last ingredient that we should talk about, because I see Chris coming in here, is measurement. And I think this is the kind of final thing that makes that's going to make in-game advertising a valuable method for brands to interact with players through games. And I think measurement of this is understanding from an advertiser perspective what they're buying and being able to compare that to other things, other media they're buying. So this can fit into that kind of standard media matrix. We think about this a lot at Adimo. We are co-chair of the InGame Advertising group at IAB, who are currently looking at defining new standards. And I think the standards that we want to see go beyond, right now the standards are around what made a valid impression and was that ad viewable or not viewable. But we want those things to go beyond, even to what you were talking about, Jarkko. You mentioned engagement earlier. We think about attention and impact. How can we measure those and deliver that to you as an advertiser? And we know that in-game advertising does have higher attention and higher impact. We ran a campaign here in the UK recently with a cancer charity and found that players that were exposed to this campaign in-game were 12% more likely to donate to that charity versus those that hadn't. In fact, industry benchmarks around about 3%. So, significant uplift on that. And this is great. We think this is why we should all be excited about this. But beyond that, Marcin, maybe as a start, can you tell us a little bit more about what other KPIs are important to you as an advertiser?
Yeah, so that's really important factor that you can really measure a lot of things, because if we have some more traditional way of advertising, for example, outdoor or advertising printed press, that's really, I know, a historic thing that still exists. You can really, let's say, estimate what was the viewability of your creation. But when we go to the internet, we have a whole other thing, because we can measure nearly all of KPIs, like who's in this advertise, from where he go to the website, when he go next, what his grow page, and so on and so on. And we really need tools like that to make a significant product for advertisers and brand managers and marketers. So actually, the in-game advertising sounds like really promising technology, because we can put there a lot of measurement, and we really want to have this, because when we talk to marketer, when you talk to brand manager about the way he needs to spend money on this, he really needs to have a lot of KPIs, and that's what at the end of the day is really interesting him. How many people seen it? How many people, for example, make action and click or go somewhere and buy product at the end of the day?
Thank you. Chris, do we have time for any audience questions?
We do have time for a couple of questions. I'm going to try and get through quick 2 or 3, and then I'll move on to the next speaker. We're okay. We're good. It was very, very fascinating, actually. You answered quite a lot of them, which is good. But I'm going to get through a couple of here. One quick question at the top, and then I'll go 2 from the bottom, like countdown. Brand advertising has been a staple of other digital entertainment for decades, and in-game advertising in kind of PC consoles kind of been around for a while now. Why do you think it's just starting to break into mobile now? Why is it? Mobile's been huge for quite a number of years. What is the change now that is making this sort of viable, do you think?
Who would you like me to start with that one, maybe?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So my view on this, and Jarkko may have some additional input on this as well. I think everybody's fed up with the current advertising. As I said, it's just a really crappy experience. Nobody's playing a game and says, oh, great, here's another 15-second non-skippable video I get to watch before coming back to playing the game I was enjoying. So I think it's just, we're now at the point where the people are fed up with it. And I think as well, the power, everybody has effectively a PlayStation in their back pocket now. And this was not necessarily the case even just a few years ago. So I think it was just the timing of the audience and the device and the technology have all kind of come together.
Cool. I'm going to try and whip through two more. So if anybody else wants to interject quickly, I've got one from Marcus Kumalainen here, which I said without any errors. If ads were to be built inside a game during its production, would targeted advertisement become more difficult? I don't know if that's the thing or not, but does that?
Yeah, and again, I'll maybe start with this one. No, so we are able to target, and there's a number of targeting signals that we as an industry use, some of which are already out there that any ad platform would use, even down to the kind of basic ones of contextual. We know what type of game this is in. We have certain signals there that let us know. These ad placements, you can think of them as they're like green screen, basically. So you put green screens in the game where it makes sense for an ad to appear. And it's our job at Adimo to ensure that that ad that appears there at playtime is relevant to that player and relevant to that game.
Okay, I'll try and get one more in, and if any of the panel wants to wade into it, feel free. This is another easy to pronounce name from Uffe Ekqvist. I'm sure that's correct. Don't correct me if it isn't. Do you think it'd be a good idea? This might be beyond your pay grade. I don't know. If you could create a platform with a lot of ad formats to choose between, and then connect them to existing assets in the Unity store. I'm sure Unity would think it's a good idea, but they've got not enough money, Unity, right? So. I don't know. Do you think there's a lot of ad formats, a central ad platform, one ad platform to rule them all? Is that ever going to happen?
Jarkko, maybe run this one over to you. You've got some experience here.
Yeah, well, of course, probably from both the advertiser and publisher perspective, that would be great to have a kind of one-stop shop for everything in that sense. But of course, there's kind of certain innate differences between different ad formats and also between different advertisers that what they're looking for. So it might be pretty hard to get. So in that sense, having kind of a specialized tool for different type of stuff is not necessarily a bad thing.
The Adimo answer to that would be, why would you want those other ad formats anyways? We know they're crappy, so just do in-game ads and Adimo. That's a simple answer.
There's loads of other questions as well, but I think you answered quite a lot of them, and people can come and find you in the Discord in the meeting system, and I'm sure I think you're around in some panels later in the show as well. So thank you so much, Kristen. Thank you so much to other panelists, to Marcin and Jarkko, and really informative. And yeah, I'm all in favor of new ads and less intrusive advertising, absolutely mobile. So more power to you all. Cool. I'm going to have to move you along.
Thank you, Jarkko and Marcin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.